Okay, so last night was another one of those nights I did not sleep very good at all. Um, got like 3 hours of sleep, and I woke up at like 5:54, and of course that's one off, right, from my normal synchronicities and whatnot. And it's like, okay, so early enough to go, or soon enough to go ahead and feed the dogs and all that crap. But I get up out of bed, and of course Gidget and Taz are all excited and ready to go at this point. And I realize that Ziva's not off of her bed. And I look down, and she's having another one of her little episodes where it's not quite a seizure, but like as far as like the way she acts, it's like she's just laying there and kind of doing this number and making weird noises. But it always, it's immediately sets the day off kind of rough when, that's how she's starting. And then I guess Taz and Gidget didn't know it was going on until I was aware that it was going on. And then Gidget licked her on the face a couple times and then got back on the bed to wait because she knew I wasn't going to do anything until it was over. And Taz, meanwhile, was like barking and trying to get in my face and stick his tongue up my nose and all this crap, and it was just driving me nuts. And which of course makes it that much more of a pain in the ass because I got one dog that's, having this stressful event. That's always a concern health-wise when she does it. She's been doing it for years, but usually associated with something she's ingested that she shouldn't be, or that is less than ideal. And when we first noticed it, she went to the emergency vet a couple times back in 2020. She went in April because it was the first time she had one. It was like 12:30 in the morning. And of course we're freaking out because we don't know what's going on with her. She had one other instance when she was about 2, and I think it was in the time frame that my ex was either in Alabama before he went to Germany for job training, or it was while he was in Germany. So we were, back in the same damn house that we are now, back then. And when I called the vet to, get some sort of idea of what I should do for her, they said to make note of what she was doing at the time of the event, how long it lasted, how frequently she was doing them, and then we would kind of set up an appointment and go from there once we had a little more information about what was going on. But then she did it the one time I talked to the vet, and then she never did it again until 2020. And then, of course I moved back in with my parents as I was going through my divorce. And since it was the pandemic, the food that they were on was occasionally difficult to get. So we had like this time span where we were mixing their regular food with a cheaper brand. And at some point we ran out of the regular food and it was just the cheap stuff. And then she did it again in that time frame. And then a few weeks later had another episode. And so, when I was trying to figure it out from there, it's like, okay, so what I could piece together was somewhere around the time frame that we ran out of the better quality dog food and just had the cheaper stuff, she started having this sort of reaction. But it wasn't like a regular thing or anything. She did it once in April and then once in May. And when she did it in May, I wasn't home because I was at work. And, my mom got a video of her, how she was acting, and then they went ahead and took her to the emergency vet again. And the vet that looked at the video said it's definitely not a seizure. It looks like some kind of neurological event, but, without no more than she was doing it, then, you don't really know how to approach it, what you need to do. Like the tests that they did came back normal. So it's like, what do you do with this, right? And she hasn't been on the cheap food or anything. But the one thing I feel like is connected is the damn rawhide that I keep asking my mom to not buy. But we went a long time where she wasn't either, and then all at once she was like, well, we haven't had these around in a while. It's like, yes, because it's terrible for them, but then, of course, Ziva and Taz are big chewers anyway. They're very high energy dogs, and so that chewing helps alleviate some of that, right? But it's crap. Right, so Ziva had one I took away from her last night that, was a little piece, and she's notorious for trying to swallow big chunks of it too, which is part of the problem with that shit. There's lots of problems with that shit, but that's, one of many. And, of course, usually she sees me eyeballing her, then she tries to get it down quicker because she knows I'm likely to take it away. But that was the biggest thing, was she did have some of that in the past couple days, and yesterday included. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident it's related to that, especially since it seems like it happens more than it was there for a while. And especially considering she had one of these episodes when we were there in 2014, and then we were gone, and she didn't do anything like that for a long time until we moved back, and then this, the deal with the pandemic and the cheap dog food, and then after that it was somewhere after that my mom started getting this crap again. So it's like, I don't know, it's frustrating. And every single time a bag shows up, it's like, we've had this conversation, it is terrible for them, and I'm confident this is what is leading her to have so many of these stupid events. And then, she'll say, oh, well, I haven't gotten that in a long time, and try to make it so it's like, no, that couldn't possibly be the issue. It's like, except for there's 4 of them that I know of at this point in time. So just because you haven't bought it in a while doesn't mean it's not still there. And Taz is really good about taking stuff outside and then dropping it, whenever he finds it, he might bring it back in, or sometimes he brings it back with him, but not normally. So then, I don't know. Anyway, so that's how I started my day off. And then, of course, today, my mom had ordered this snowman thing. It's a yard decoration from Sam's Club because they were on clearance. And the last time we were in there, we were talking about it because it's really cute. And my aunt had gotten her one of those prismatic trees that they have last year. And, once we got it put together, I have no idea how to, if it comes back apart. I don't want to mess with it. And of course, my dad's had his strokes at this point in time, so there's no way he can, he's likely to figure it out. So it's like, we're just not going to take it apart. But now we got this snowman because, they are pretty cool. And since I got that thing out of the shed and took it to the front of the house, it's been plugged in the entire time. So it's been 2 or 3 weeks now. It's just chilling out there. Good night light when I'm walking from my room to the kitchen, because we have a little Christmas tree in the front window, and I shut it off at night, but it's because of where it's at. I don't close the curtains behind it, and so the other light comes in. So good night light in that time frame. So is what it is. But yes, today, since my mom had ordered this thing last night. We were talking about it. It's like, well, it is cute, and of course, if we get it put up, we don't have to take it down until like toward the end of winter anyway. So, and with any luck, I'll be getting out of there in a timely fashion sometime in the next year. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, she got it. And so today we were supposed to pick it up between 1 and 2. So she mentioned that my aunt asked her what we were doing today, and she told her that, we had this thing to go get at Sam's Club, and my aunt's all about that. She wanted to go. She hadn't been in a while. She said she was pretty sure that the last time she went was with me and my mom, which when we were talking about it the other day, I don't think we've been since the day that my dad got out of the rehab hospital. And that was like May. So if my aunt hasn't been since the last time we went, and it wasn't that time because she wasn't with us that day, then that pushes us back to like somewhere around the time frame that my grandfather was in the rehab hospital down there. So I'm not entirely sure about that, but she was all excited about going. But we had this big ass box, so it's like, okay, this is like, I made them both look in the back of the car before we went in the store. It's like, this is how much space we have to work with. So whatever's in the back seat, aside from my aunt's butt, and what she can squeeze in next to her, and then because my mom also had like a case of Diet Coke, Sprite, and water back there, so it's like, all right, so this is all we have. Because in the past, there were many trips where I took my aunt, my mother, and my grandmother to Sam's Club, and it's like barely had space for everybody's stuff, because of course my mom had a cart full, my aunt had a cart full, and then my grandma had a bunch. So it's like, luckily for them, I'm really good at packing things in limited space, and we always made it with everything that they had bought, but there was some difficulties from time to time, and it's not that things were entirely unscathed by the time we got back home, because I know there was one day like the carton of eggs fell out, but I don't think that was a Sam's Club run. I think that was like Aldi's or something. So it's like, never open the hatch on the back of the car without somebody being there to potentially catch in case anything falls out. But yeah, anyway, it was fine. Got their stuff, and it was tedious. I'm not gonna lie, it was absolutely tedious. So on top of not sleeping for crap last night and not sleeping any more than I did, then I get to hang out with them all day, or most of the day. I picked my aunt up about 1:45 and went that way, and didn't get back till about 4:30. But I took my headphones and had charged my phone a little bit more in the time that before, or when I was getting ready to leave. And it's like, it was just one of those days. It's like, yeah, I know how this is going to go, right? So we're in the car driving down the road, and of course it's Christmas season, and this is now the second Christmas without my grandfather. So somewhere along the way, the conversation from my mom and my aunt shifts into like all this nostalgic crap, and like my mom talking about how she's really glad that her mom and dad had her and her sisters as young as they were, so they got to enjoy them for longer, and she's really happy that she had her kids as young as she did, and blah blah blah. And my aunt starts in on how her daughter did basically the same thing that she did, because she was 29 and a half when she had her daughter, and her daughter had her baby on her 30th birthday. So there again, the one that I'm confident is my grandfather reincarnated. But you know, like, even that point came back up too. Like, and I didn't contribute to the conversation. As soon as, like, I saw where the conversation was going, and, you know, my mom's talking about how happy she was that everybody, you know, they had the kids so young. Basically, it was so great that the kids had kids, right? And, you know, like, that's been the biggest thing for me, is like when I hit 22, right? So my mom got married like 2 or 3 weeks before her 19th birthday, had my brother like 3 weeks after she turned 20, and then had me at 22. And when I was in college, I hit 22. I was like, what the fuck was she thinking? It's like, I don't know jack shit about myself. How would I, you know, like, trying to think of how I would possibly try to cope with having kids at that age. It's like, nah, fuck that. You know, so once she starts going into the nostalgia stuff, it's like, yeah, I'm not interested in hearing this. And of course, I didn't have my headphones turned all the way up. I could still hear what was going on. But, like, that was the big thing, was as soon as they started talking, it's just like, I just let them up. And turned them on, and then got my phone, and was able to, you know, just go back into Spotify, and whatever the playlist was, the last one, which was like a sappy playlist, I think was the last one I'd listened to. So it wasn't really what I was in the mood for at that point in time, but it beat the hell out of listening to them with their walk down memory lane, and how wonderful everything was and all that shit. So yeah, but it was just, it's just like, as soon as they started it on, it's like, here we go. Not doing this. Oh man. One of the things too, and of course, you know, like I mentioned, this is the second Christmas without my grandfather, and as I've said before, I don't care. I just as far as I'm concerned, that man outlived his usefulness by about 33 years, because as soon as I turned 8 and he moved back up here after his dad died, everything became an obsession over his death, right? So then it was like this constant hijacking of every birthday and holiday to make it about him and the possibility of him dying, because, you know, we were supposed to keep him from dying for as long as we possibly could. And, you know, by means of sucking the life out of all the rest of us, right? Which is, you know, part of this. I spent time with my mother and my aunt today, and, you know, they're throwing their energy at my grandma and my dad, and it's like, oh, but because I spent time with them, it's like I feel, you know, kind of like I'm crawling through the mud because I spent all day with them. And this other piece, we're not going to deny that, you know, I also didn't sleep for shit. So, you know, like when I woke up, you know, after Ziva was done with her episode, then, you know, I went and fed them. And that's the one thing I love about this dog, is she is so food motivated that it's like she gets up, shakes it off, let's go to the food. You know, and then it's like, once, you know, she's started to move in the direction of food, then it's like it's easier for her to kind of shake it out of her system. But yeah, so I went in there, fed them, and then, you know, I spent some time writing because I was making more connections this morning. It's like, yep, I need to write this shit down. And, you know, again, useful stuff, but not quite as intriguing to me as the the previous time, but I'm going to save that for another time because, I mean, one focus at a time. Otherwise, I'll wander off 5,000 times in different directions and never get any of the stories told. So, yeah. But anyway, so that was like one of the biggest things, was I didn't get more sleep beyond the few little hours that I got. And my schedule has been really fucked up lately anyway. Because it's basically what it is. Sleep 3 hours, wake up, maybe spend like 2 or 3 hours writing, and then if I'm lucky, go back to sleep. Otherwise, just kind of be dragging all day. But the stuff that I've been writing about, I need to get out of my system too. And it's like, sometimes it's dream stuff. Sometimes there's weird shit that comes up in the dreams that seem to be teaching me things as well. Like the one the other day where, I've had all these dreams going in the past few years that I've realized always, at some point I was in the bathroom, right? It's like somewhere along the way I hit the point of, why the hell am I having all these dreams where I'm in the bathroom? And then I made the connection that it was a means of hiding my energy, right? And that was something that I did in person, like in school especially. It's like to avoid dealing with the bullies and, having to have people look at me and, just come up with whatever dumb shit to, make my life a living hell. Then, it was safer to hide out in the bathroom. So I frequently would disappear into the bathroom, right? Just so I didn't have to deal with peers. And so when I made this connection, and that's obviously, that meant a lot, right? That was me learning something pretty important about myself and my inclination to shrink myself and to try to hide and all this stuff. And I've talked a lot about like where I've seen myself in these other spaces. Like, okay, there's this one music video I got into last year. Got really into this song. Was listening to it on repeat when I was cleaning my room one night. And I go from just listening to the song to suddenly I'm in this space with these guys in this band, and we're having, laughing and joking. And then all at once I hit a point where it's like, I suddenly, in this vision that I'm having, it's like I find this little half wall to crawl down in front of and put my hood over my head. And it's like, I feel like I just need to hide right now, right? Going back to like all my cancer placements and my tendency to hide. And one of the things that came up with that particular scenario was when I was writing about it, and I was talking about just like how awkward hermit crabs are when they're running around without their shells on, right? When they're in between getting a bigger shell, right? And just how awkward and funky they are to when they're walking around naked, right? And so when I was writing about it at that point in time, that little intuitive voice chimes in with, but they have to have that awkward moment, or that moment of exposure. That was the piece, is when they're exposed. They have to have that moment of exposure in order to go from the smaller shell into the bigger shell, because they've grown, they've expanded beyond what the smaller shell is able to contain, and now it's time to go to a bigger one, and like that was a huge thing for me to make that connection too. And of course what happened when I had that whole scenario play out in my head was I was just, the video would play, and then I would just hit the little restart thing in the middle of it, and I just do that over and over again. And I got to a point where as I was cleaning up, I was like having this I mean, ultimately, I was yelling at my family in my head. That's what I was doing. I was yelling at my mom and my grandma in particular, and, you know, there was something about just because you stayed together for as many years as you did doesn't mean you did so because you actually loved each other. You did so because you were afraid that there was nothing better out there. And so you were afraid that you would have to be alone if you weren't with this other person. So it wasn't a matter of this big loving relationship. It was you were afraid to do anything else, right? So I go from having this this sort of argument of sorts where I'm just yelling at them, basically, and this whole idea, and then, you know, it's like I've gone from the small space to suddenly I'm in this space where I'm envisioning being in this, like, the space of this music video being put together. And then it's like all at once, it's like I feel exposed, I feel naked, I feel like I need to go hide, right? You know, and then for that, my little intuitive guidance linking me to the fact that it's because I was outgrowing the environment that I've always been in, the environment where my family, you know, has wanted me to be little and safe in this little bubble, right? And that was another thing that came up in the conversation today. Was my mom commented on how I don't even know who she was talking about at first. She was talking about somebody having lived in other places. I wanted to say it was probably my grandparents, because there was a span of time where they lived in Oklahoma. That wasn't the start point. It was like a conversation she'd had with somebody years before or whatever, you know, talking about these other places that somebody had lived. And she said that, you know, when she was little, her parents lived in town behind where McDonald's is currently, right? And that McDonald's has been there for several years now. I don't know what year that building got put in, but I mean, it's been many other things. At one point, it was a Hardee's, back before Hardee's, like, got better. Back when Hardee's was bad, that's when we had it in town. And then there was, like, I remember it was a weekend we went away for, I think it was a drumline thing. So we went to Dayton, Ohio. And we left, and it was like a Hardee's, and we came back, and it's like something else, and it was like, I don't even know what it was, because it was like some weird off-brand thing that's like, I don't know what that is, and, you know, nobody ever went there, so it didn't last very long. You know, but then it was that, and then it was closed for a while, and then it was a long time before McDonald's went in there. You know, but now my mom's like, well, when I was little, you know, my parents lived back behind where McDonald's is, and, you know, it wasn't there back then, and blah, blah, blah. And then she starts in on how everybody she knows has made it out of this town except for her. But she doesn't talk about it like it's a bad thing. It's like, this is her dream, right? Her dream to stay in this fucking town forever and never go anywhere and do anything else, because she, you know, she got married to somebody who was relatively local, and, you know, they bought land off of my great-grandparents next to my grandparents. And then, you know, when my aunt and uncle were moving back from Oklahoma, because they went out, or my aunt went out there when my grandparents were living out there, and she went to school out there, and she married her husband, and a few years after my grandparents moved back, she and her husband moved back, but they had a little bit of a gap where they weren't in the family armpit either. Very briefly. But then they also bought land next to my grandparents, and, you know, have lived there for like 30 years. So, yeah, but my mom's like, oh, well, she's just, you know, never gone anywhere. She's the only one that's never gone anywhere. But she's like, I don't know, the way she was talking about it, it's like, don't really feel like she had any regrets about it or anything. She's perfectly content staying in this fucking town. It's like, why? How is this so fucking enticing that you just, you got right out of school, got married before she was even out of school, she got married. She graduated midterm and married my dad like 3 weeks. Within a month, I think, of graduating midterm. No, she married him and then graduated midterm within a few weeks. So it's like, just this whole thing. It's just like the way she was talking about it is like some kind of claim to fame or something. It's like, no, that's not. If you're content with that or think you're content with that, fine, but you're really not. And okay, I wandered off again. The dream that I had recently, that I made that the one of the better connections with here recently, was the dream I had a couple weeks ago where it was like the counterpart was in there briefly, and I was in a classroom, and he came in, and he was like there, but it's like I didn't really look at him. Like I saw him, but I didn't see his face. It's like his hair and all that. But it's like I knew who he was, right? He's in the space, he says something, I respond, and then after he leaves, I realize that I didn't respond in a way that really made sense, or like I didn't get what he had said until after I responded, and it was like, oh shit, right? But I excused myself from the classroom. I said I was going to find a bathroom, but I was also hoping to find him in the hallway, right? But then what ended up happening was I found 3 different women's bathrooms, and they were all closed for cleaning or repairs. And when I was writing about it, it was like, I feel like that's a callback to that point of you can't hide anymore. It's time to be seen, right? And yeah, just no more hiding out in the bathroom. Now you gotta go be seen for some amount of who you are and what you're doing in this space. I don't know, but anyway. Ouch, my finger's locking up. I don't know, I just feel really run down, and I know it's a combination of the lack of sleep, but also having dealt with my mom and my aunt. One of the things that I've been thinking about lately, and I was thinking about it on Saturday when we went out to my uncle's house. Excuse me. So I had thought about wearing my non-servium shirt that day, but I was like, I'll hold back this time. It was one of those things. It's like, I feel like when I'm around my father for an extended period of time, that's a good shirt to wear, right? Because ultimately, he's kind of pissy because what he signed up for, which was to be, catered to in his older years, so, he doesn't have to do anything anymore, and he can just, sit around and shit himself or whatever, and somebody else has to deal with it. Or, put trash wherever, and somebody else has to clean it up. All that shit. So, and this was way before the strokes, so don't try to make it have to be one of those things of, well, if he's had strokes, then yes. My mom and I had that conversation a little bit today too, and she made a comment about how he screwed things up for them because they were supposed to be going on an Alaskan cruise and, you know, stuff like that. They were supposed to travel after he retired, but no, you know, he's had these health issues that, you know, he brought upon himself. And I reminded her that he brought them upon himself, and well, of course that pissed her off too. But, you know, and one of the things I started with was this time last year, before any of the strokes, he made a comment to my brother about how, as the oldest, it is his duty to take care of, you know, his parents in their older years, because that's what they did for their parents. You know, they were the oldest, and it fell to them to take care of their parents as they were in their final years, days, whatever, all that shit. So, you know, and we've had this conversation before where I pointed that out to her, and, you know, she, of course, resents me for doing that every single time I do it, but of course I'm going to do it anyway, because it's an important reminder, I think, because she wants to always look at all the shit me and my brother are doing, right? The fact that he moved away to Oklahoma after my dad told him that as the oldest, it is his duty to take care of his parents. And I was real close to telling her that I was a very vocal piece in pushing that idea too, that, you know, they had the opportunity to leave. We both knew they weren't going to be able to raise their child as they want in this space with our parents involved, with mom specifically. My dad, Gracie, honestly, she's never had a good relationship with him. And it is because he's been a jerk. Like, flat out been a jerk. He would come home from work and she would just be there, and, you know, he's sitting on the couch and she goes to walk past him to go into the bathroom, and he's trying to slap her in the face. So it's a good idea for the kid to not be around, right? My brother, you know, I guess he's apologized to Gracie multiple times that she's not going to have that kind of relationship with a grandfather figure. It's like, well, it's like, he never wanted it. Like, he was an asshole from the get-go, right? Like, when Gracie was 2, my parents went with my brother and sister-in-law to Disney to take her for a little trip, right? And my dad was showing his ass bad enough that my brother said he thought they were going to get thrown out of the park. They had security guys around at one point. My dad apparently tried driving, or had this electric cart, and damn near drove it up the wall and flipped it, kind of a thing. It's like, I don't think my brother had ever had that kind of experience with him. Now, of course, my mom will tell you that the doctor thinks he's been having these strokes for a long time. Well, he's notoriously not taking care of himself, not giving a shit about taking care of himself. The strokes that have been confirmed that we knew of came about because he took himself off of his meds. That is not the only time he's ever taken himself off of his meds, right? So he took himself off his meds. He had this procedure done, and that was when, you know, they're having the conversation and asking him if he's on all these pills or not, and he said he hadn't taken anything for like 3 weeks, and that was the first my mom knew about it. You know, and then back in September or whatever, he took himself off of his CPAP machine for 2 weeks. Now, of course, that one, you could say he's had the other strokes by this point, so maybe it wasn't necessarily him thinking about it, except he's been on that damn thing for several years, like at least since I was a senior in high school. And I graduated 23 years ago. So he's used it more than he's not used it. And he's always liked it because he's, he'll just randomly talk about how he finally sleeps. He didn't used to sleep that good, right? But he's actually sleeping now because he's on this stupid machine. So then to take himself off of it for 2 weeks when he'd been doing it for years, yeah, it was post-stroke, but at the same time, it's still more shit that he's done for attention, ultimately, because, the birthday before this past one, so in 2024, we all went out to eat for his birthday, and my brother was trying to cheer him up because he was all grumpy, and finally got my dad to talk and say what was wrong. And this way before all the strokes, I just really thought I'd be dead by now. Cool. Happy fucking birthday. You're with your family, and that's what you got, is you're pissed because you're still alive. Cool. Right? So anyway, my mom had something she was kind of bitching, running her mouth about. He's jacked up their retirement years, or their older years, because he's had all these health problems now, so they can't travel like they had talked about. And I was just like, he's doing exactly what he always intended on doing. It's like, from the point of he called out, or he flat out told my brother it's his duty, right? And then the fact that I'm a daughter, right? So I'm just naturally supposed to fall in and serve my only purpose, right? Yeah. But yeah, when I mentioned that to my mom, and she was like, well, she goes, he definitely did it for attention, but I don't think he expected it to go like this. It's like, well, probably not, but doesn't really matter, does it? He still got here because of his own decisions. And when I mentioned the thing with my brother and his moving, or I didn't mention his moving, she was the one that mentioned his moving. I was the one that mentioned that, our dad flat out told him back in December last year that it was his duty to take care of our parents. And she's like, well, he got out of that, didn't he? He skated his way out of that or something. It's like, woman, I'm so very close. And I think the biggest reason I haven't said anything further about it at this point is just because trying to keep the peace for the sake of the time that I'm there. I was really close to telling her that I was a very vocal piece in encouraging my brother to get out of there. And also that there is a very good chance that they will never hear from me again when I leave. I feel like she probably has some sort of awareness that kind of time frame is coming. But it hasn't been expressed yet, so but I definitely want to get the fuck up out of here and don't want to come back. I mentioned in my last video that when I helped my brother move stuff to Oklahoma and then was on my way back, it's like as soon as I hit the Indiana border, it was like okay, what I'm, I guess, envisioning is like the chains, and like hearing the chains of like pulling a drawbridge up or putting it down. It's just like that feeling like you're getting pulled in and you don't really have any choice because you're stuck in this icky but yeah, it's like every time I think about this stuff now, it's like I kind of have that, just that sound of like the big heavy metal chain just getting pulled around the thing as it pulls this bridge up or puts it down. It's just like, yep, I need out of here. And then the past couple days I've pulled some cards that seemed a little heavier than normal. And of course, I think that's the biggest thing right now is this holiday season. I loathe it, right? I talked about ever since last year, right? It's like I'm really coming to dislike all things Christmas. And I've talked about like just different layers of it with my family and whatnot. But that, of course, the biggest piece being it just feels like an obligation, like a burden, right? It's not something exciting and, oh, we get to spend time with the family and all this shit. It's like you're expected to pay your dues, right? Get everybody presents, and you gotta, put forth all the effort that shows that you gave a shit and, wanted to pick something out nicely for them, all this shit, right? But like the bigger thing is when it comes down to like the whole situation with my mom. Either pat her on the back because she did so well, she knows me so well that she got me something I liked. Or I'm an ungrateful bitch because I didn't like what she got me. Or I didn't need it and commented that I didn't need it, right? So she constantly complains about my brother and sister-in-law because they did not keep a single thing that she got them last year. It's like, because of this very point. It's either she knows you so well and you will always hear about how, give her the pat on the back 10 years from now because you're wearing a shirt that she picked you out because she liked it and you wore it. Or you're an ungrateful bitch, right? Because they are ungrateful. She's not getting them anything. She's just going to give them money this year. And she asked me, did I want money or did I want presents? It's like, I said, honestly, money's probably more useful. Because it's a little harder to come by these days. So, yeah. But then she got her feelings hurt because she looks forward to the gift giving part of it. It's like, how can I look forward to something that's either she knows me so well or I'm an ungrateful bitch? That's a shitty system. I don't like it. And then my brother and I kind of had this conversation last night about, and I told him the other day, I said, I'm really coming to hate Christmas. It's like I just cannot stand being around the family at this time of year because it's just of what it is, right? And that's exactly what my grandfather basically set up. You're supposed to get him the gifts and, he can be all happy that he's got like 10 pairs of the exact same damn shoes that are all Velcro because he doesn't want to tie them. And he only wore the pair that he had broken in, right? So when he died, there were like 5 pairs of brand new Velcro tennis shoes, not all exactly the same, but that were in his closet because he never wore them because he already had some. He didn't need more, right? But then it's like just the daughters jumping through their hoops to earn daddy's approval, right? I can't get on board with that. It fucking sucks. Okay, so the part where I was talking to my brother last night, I said the biggest thing, I said I'm just thinking about that deal back in May. I said there was something that came up with my mom trying to get everybody excited to go clean up at my grandma's house. Everybody is going to be there. They weren't. It was mainly the sisters, and she was trying to pull me into it as well. But like the biggest thing, and I talked about this on here several times back then. The biggest thing was I don't want to go. She didn't ask, right? That was the biggest point was she didn't ask me. She just tried to get me all hyped up and this is this great thing we're going to do for grandma and yeah, you should be there and there's going to be donuts and Beth's bringing drinks and blah blah blah, and it's like I don't want to go. And so, when I was feeling bad, because like the day that this was supposed to happen, of course I didn't say that I wasn't going to go or anything. I just I went quiet. And so the morning of, I don't go over there. And instead, I woke up and put my dogs in the car, and we went to Hardee's and got some breakfast. And I shared, my my hash browns and biscuits and gravy with my dogs. Right? That's what we did. And the entire way over there, I felt guilty. Because that's how I was raised, to feel guilty if you're not falling in line. And so I go out there, I go to Hardee's, and like the whole way over there, it's just like, but they didn't ask. But if I say, or if they ask me why I didn't go, and I say, you didn't ask, then it's just that level of they will ask to appease me. Nothing more, simply to appease me. Now fall in line. Right? So, that was the day that I saw the bald eagle in the field and got a couple pictures of it. That was pretty cool. It was like I was getting ready to turn on our road and just having this whole conversation play out in my head. It's like, but they didn't ask. But then if they did ask, and I still didn't want to do it, it would still be, we asked to appease you, now fall in line. Right? So it's like, so really, there is no winning this situation. It's like the only way to win is not to play the damn game. And then, next thing I know, I look up and there's a freaking bald eagle in the field. Right? And I got the pictures of it. But yeah, like I was talking to my brother about it, it's like this isn't one you can win. It's like it's literally set up to suck the life out of you either way. So, ugh. Interesting, though, that I started with a little mention of Hardee's back when they were really terrible and in town, and now I like Hardee's breakfast, but they're not in town, so it's not near as convenient. But yeah, anyway, I just thought it was funny when I all at once am talking about Hardee's again. Anyway, yeah. Oh, the Christmas thing. Okay. Saturday, we were going over to my aunt and uncle's house. It was Christmas at the Joneses, right? That's my dad's side. We're supposed to go over there and do the Christmas thing. I was the only grandkid, right? I mean, yeah, for all intents and purposes. Although it was strictly my dad and his siblings and their spouses if they're still living. Or girlfriend in the one guy's case. So, yeah, it was kind of lame. Usually, the second to youngest brother, he and his wife have an autistic granddaughter that lives with them. I think she's like 17. She's usually there. So she's the other one of note that wasn't there. But I was there. So, and, like the last time something happened, I think they went out with some cousins that they don't see very often, and I didn't want to go to that one. And then of course everybody asked where I was. It's like, okay, well, this is a weird thing where I'm the only one in this generation that's showing up, right? But enough that they're asking about me, me and the autistic granddaughter that lives with them. It's like, well, that's not my story. I'm just the freaking divorced daughter that had to move back in, right? So it's like, but that still fucking sucks. But anyway, so we're getting ready to go over there, and I was feeling the non-servium shirt, and it's like, going to keep the peace for the sake of it's the fucking holiday. And when I was getting ready, I decided to go with these Snoopy leggings. They're like Christmas leggings. It's like, what the hell? It's like, I feel pretty confident that this is the last Christmas that I'm going to acknowledge. And, or celebrate, if you want to call it that, because I'm not celebrating it. It fucking sucks. But I went ahead and did the Snoopy thing, right? And the Christmas shirt. It was like my Varsity Blood Center donation shirt. It says like donating blood got me off the naughty list or whatever. It's like, fuck it, we'll go with that. we'll be festive since it's probably the last time we're gonna do it, right? And so we did. And then, of course, there's all sorts of, everybody's all excited about the festive clothes and everything, and how there were, like, I think 3 of us there that had something Snoopy on. My dad had a Snoopy shirt. My uncle's girlfriend had a Snoopy shirt. I had the Snoopy pants. And then she made a comment somewhere along the line about raising them right, first in the Lord and second with Snoopy. And it's like, cool. But it was like, there's just that whole bringing them up in the Lord thing. It's like, fuck, here we go. But that was basically why I decided to go with the more tame option, right? Next time I won't make that mistake. Next time, if I'm feeling the shirt, I'm going to wear the damn shirt. Although I did find different leggings to pair it with this last time that I really liked, and I have a new go-to. So I guess the plumeria flowers when we're in the summer months, and the black cats otherwise. But it worked. So anyway, so yeah, that was like the biggest thing. Was I feel like, okay, this is the last time I feel like I'm going to be doing this. So I'll just whatever, But then of course we're there, and then my mom's bragging about how I just always like to be so festive and seasonal and all this crap. It's like, cool. I mean, it's not entirely wrong. That's kind of basically what I've been doing is, I'll be festive for whatever the occasion is. I don't know how many in the past 6 years since I've been back, right? Moving in on 7. Of course, Gracie was here previously for the holidays. I don't know how many matching pairs of pajamas that we all had. Like, because, my brother, sister-in-law, and Gracie would have a set, then I ended up with a set, and I think my mom and dad, most of the ones that we've had, it's been the whole damn thing, right? The whole damn family's got it, right? And I've been kind of purging all that kind of stuff here lately too. It's like, I'm sick of sick of matching people, for one thing. I guess under those circumstances, I'm sure there are other circumstances where I might be a little more open to it and warm and fuzzy, but not necessarily when it's, the larger group of people I'm disconnecting from completely, right? But anyway, so I was thinking, it's like, okay, of course, I wore these damn Snoopy Christmas leggings to this party, and then I was thinking very seriously about, I need to sell those, right? So that's something I can do right now, get money for before Christmas. I have 2 pairs that are like specifically Snoopy and look Christmassy and all this crap. The others, like, okay, these are just snowflakes, so I'll keep those, because they can go with a lot of other things. It's fucking winter, man. The white snowflakes, keeping those. The, like, they're not quite rainbow, but they have a bunch of different colors in the snowflakes that kind of look like fall colors, so I don't really understand them, but I'll still wear them. But yeah, anything that's specifically Christmas looking, I think I'm ready to just say bye-bye, because I don't want to do that anymore. And then I was thinking, I do still have a couple Snoopy Christmas shirts from like the pajama sets. Got rid of like all the pajama pants and everything with them, and just have the shirts mainly, and it's more for the sake of having long sleeves than anything. It's like, those can go, but then it's the whole point of, first off, I got to do a pair of I got to do a laundry leggings laundry load, which is like a partial load at this point in time, but I got to get them clean since I did wear them. but then posting those two things. But then, like, the biggest thing is posting them and hoping my mom doesn't get in the middle of it. Because if she sees it, she's going to say something, right? Because that's always what happens. She sees it. No, what are you doing that for? Well, I mean, we can have this conversation. We came close to having this conversation today. If this is probably the last one that I'll be having any part of, at least with this family. My youngest cousin apparently he claims to be Jewish now. So I don't know any of his backstory and like how much he actually pursues the specific path. But definitely not doing this Christmas with the family thing. Hasn't done that in years. And that's one of those things too. It's like, okay, they think it's so fun to do like this white elephant Christmas thing, right? So everybody gets like a $25 gift and puts in, draw numbers, and then take turns, and then you can go through and either steal a gift or get a different gift, and then if somebody likes what you have and wants that instead, which worked out in my favor a couple times because my one cousin gets the coolest gifts and I ended up with things that she got, but like like one thing was like this lamp last year. It's like a weird shape and kind of like a infinity thing. But it like has all these different colors that it flash through, and it's like, I really liked it, right? So my uncle got it and opened it up, and he was like, cool, I can put this on my desk at work or whatever. And it's like, you could tell he wasn't thrilled to death with it or anything. I was like, that's fucking awesome, I'll take it, right? So I got that one. And then there's another one that my grandfather ended up with, this waterfall. It's like, he's not going to do anything with it, but it's like this waterfall and has like this like cracked glass ball that, the ball spins with the water, but also it has like the LED lights on it, and so it like flashes all these different colors. It's like awesome. So I got those, but usually the problem I have with the whole thing is, first off, I mean, most of the people there are going to get something that, well, I thought I would use it, right? That kind of thing, but they're not going to get their gift, so it's probably going to go to somebody who's like, okay, what the fuck am I going to do with this? Like, in this family, it is safe to assume that everybody has an emergency car kit in their car. So I got one of those one year. It's like, yep, I had one. So cool. But it's like that kind of stuff. So it's like, that kind of thing works better if you don't know everybody, let alone related to them. I mean, I guess in that end, or people that are a little more open on what they're going to attempt to put in the thing. But anyway, it's like it's not really, if it wasn't for my cousin's stuff, I mean, I've said every year I didn't want to participate in it, right? But then my mom's like, oh, well, I got an extra gift, it's okay, just go ahead and put it in with it. Like, I mean, last year it worked out. The year before I didn't participate in it, but I ended up with the waterfall, and it was my mom got some towels, and we have a shit ton of towels, so we didn't need them, right? So then, my grandpa gets this waterfall. Well, he's not going to do anything with it, so mom says, hey, I'll trade you. And of course they had all sorts of towels. They didn't really need new towels either, but it was more conducive for them to have new towels than this waterfall that they're not going to use. So so I ended up getting that. So it's worked out okay, but I'm not going to, knowing that those are the hit and miss times, it's like, I don't want to participate. but I'm sure my mom's going to try to twist my arm, make me participate. And yeah, that's one of those things. But and my cousin, the one that's Jewish now, he, the last couple times he went, he was like, no, I don't want to do this, and then was pushed into it like that too. And it's like, cool, now he just stopped going. And it's like, yeah, I understand that. I completely understand that. But yeah, like I like the season. I don't dislike all of the music. There's a bunch of it that I do, because of course, I'm not, how I feel about the church stuff. I talk about that on here often enough. I don't want the churchy shit. Yeah, so no, I just really, and I've spent some time thinking about that, and it's like, I don't feel bad about not wanting to do it anymore. The bigger thing was, future family stuff. If counterpart is into Christmas and I'm not, it's like, well, that would kind of suck. But then it was like, but we don't have to do anything. I mean, we can make up our all new traditions that, to do that don't involve anything that we've done before, right? Doesn't even have to be on the same damn day. Of course, I was talking about getting rid of my Christmassy stuff, like the stuff that's straight up that screams Christmas. Like the Christmas trees don't necessarily scream Christmas. And I like the lights. I'm into fun lights. I talked about my lamp and my waterfall that's got the cracked glass that shoots colors out. So I like lights, but I don't like. There's just so much of it I don't like, and so much of it that just feels more of a burden than anything else. It's like I don't know. And I don't even feel like that's, like, I don't feel like it's a bad thing at all. But I know that just with my family, if I said anything about it, then they would try to make me feel bad about it. My mom was talking today with my aunt about how it just keeps getting smaller. Because of course, my cousin, my aunt's youngest son, the youngest cousin, he hasn't been around for Christmas for a while. And of course, my grandfather died last year. And this year, my brother and sister-in-law moved halfway across the country. And of course, there was something that came up with my uncle went and took the mail in over at my grandma's house. She was asleep in her chair. He didn't wake her up. So then my mom and my aunt are in there about, why wouldn't he wake her up? Make sure she's still alive and all this kind of stuff. And, my mom throws out, well, she better not do this before Christmas and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, yeah, we already got that all wrapped up with the old man who is always making it about his death, right? So, and now we have his death to, further that, he just compounded that whole thing, right? So, 33 years of my life went to having to worry about this man's death and literally him hijacking every birthday and holiday. And then he hijacked Thanksgiving because, he wasn't breathing that day. He wasn't able to breathe on his own. He had gotten back to the nursing home from the hospital the night before. The next morning, he's not breathing on his own. And what I said to my mom was, the fact that he keeps coming over here and getting worse because you're not staying around for him to suck the life out of you, right? You're prolonging his life by bending over backwards and showing up and taking it from you to give to him. It's like, that's all this is. This is like straight up energy vampire shit. And so, so he hijacks Thanksgiving because he knew we were all going there. And, we're all supposed to go there and have the family room area for 2 hours. And, everybody was bringing food, and then we get there, and he's got to go back to the emergency room. So my mom and her sisters, and I don't know if my grandma ate anything, but she stayed in there with the rest of us. But it's like Thanksgiving last year was sitting at the nursing home, and everybody else, it's like we take food in there, and then there's this other thing happening, and then all the daughters and grandma are dealing with his situation too, and the daughters weren't around for food at all, so they made this food and then aren't even able to eat it, and they're all worried about if this is the end and all that crap, and it didn't end up being right then, but it was really quick after, so Thanksgiving last year, and then he died the day before my mom's birthday. So of course my mom's dealing with funeral shit on her birthday, so of course her birthday is never going to be the same. And then beyond that, first Christmas without him, so it's like, well, hey, he made sure to make all these 3 things about him, right? So even on his way out, he was making sure to continue, to make it to where we can continue always mourning his death, even after, when he's not there anymore. On his all the holidays have been about, and holidays and birthdays have been about his death. Now we got his death sealing them up, right? And then again, of course, my cousin don't care that her baby was born on her birthday. But there ain't no way that wasn't my grandfather coming back, right? That baby is straight up my grandfather reincarnated. And there is no doubt in my mind, especially since he was born on her birthday. It's like, okay, there it is. But of course, at least with that one, since there's new life, right? So, let the energy vampires find somebody else to suck the life out of. And luckily my cousin is like very protective of her child, and they are 45 minutes away from the family, so they don't come around that often, and the family very much doesn't have any boundaries, so she's setting boundaries and holding to those, so thankfully there's that for her sake and everything. But yeah, it's like just as far as all the rest of it goes, I'm just maybe done. And okay, so today when we were at Sam's Club, my mom had to, so she got the snowman on clearance. We got it in the back of the car because they wouldn't deliver it. But when we got there, found out it was like $22 cheaper than it was yesterday. So she went to the customer service to see if she could get the money back out of it, right? The excess. And the lady said she couldn't do that, but they could return it and rebuy it, and she'd get today's price. So they did that, right? Well, my aunt wandered off because she had to get some other stuff. So my mom said which way she was going, so I went down to where she was, because I'd gone to the bathroom as soon as I got there. And so I go and meet up with my aunt, and she was by the dog treats, and would your dogs eat these? It's like, yeah. And she's like, well, she's very concerned about getting the cousins a gift from Daisy, the corgi. And it's like, I can appreciate that, but at the same time, not all of us have the income to be able to do this, right? So she wants to do the nice thing and get the puppy cousins a gift from the other puppy cousins. Like, I don't have money to just be spending it on all these animals too, right? So it's like, at this point, my mom's probably going to get a freaking 6th attempt at cleaning the damn shit out of the carpet that we haven't been able to get out of there yet. And my dad's just lumped in with that because I don't have it, right? So, and the only one I feel especially bad about is Gracie, because and she's not going to miss out. Her parents will get her plenty, and she's already getting stuff from the aunts and whatnot, and mom sent her stuff out there, so it's not like she's gonna be hurting for anything. But yeah, just like the whole season, it's just exhausting. And I don't like it. And it just feels like more of a burden than anything else. And so I pulled these cards the past couple days, and like I don't even remember what all they were said, but they've had a heavier feeling about them, just like the cards in general that I've been pulling. It's just like, these are, feel more loaded. They feel like I've been feeling the past few days. Like, it's just this burdensome thing that we have to go through, and I'm fucking ready for it to be over. And, I can be disappointing to everybody because I didn't have the income to buy all the presents to, contribute to that whole thing. And I don't know. I'm just over it. It's like, I feel like I've been hearing for years that, Christmas isn't about those things. It's like, it's not supposed to be, but yet it pretty much is, at least in this family. So yeah, I don't want that. I don't want every fucking season to be a fucking burden. And it just is. Like, the last 2 years especially. But ever since I had to move back, it just feels like it's gotten progressively more so. Especially with trying to, I think that's the biggest thing too, is the fact that I'm trying to break out of what I was raised to do and find my own way. And it's very hard to do while existing in the same space that, created the issues. So yeah, yay me. But anyway, I have a couple movies I'm going to take back to the library, and then go home and take a shower because I gotta get this out of my system. This sucks. Time to meet with the salt again, the rose salt. I was trying to figure out, it's like, okay, so at least for Christmas, since we didn't do it right on Thanksgiving, we gotta recycle the silly idea of the food items on the shirt. So at least I got my silly pun for the day, and have an excuse to not do the Christmas stuff on that day. My T-Rex shirt I'm gonna have to keep just because I love that dude. I mean, it's red and green, so it's the most Christmassy. And it's a little T-Rex with his little short arms trying to put the star on the top of the trees. Obviously, I'll keep that one. But, yeah, like all the rest of it, it's like, if it's specifically Christmas and presents and all that crap, then, yeah, it can go. Anyway. Okay. I was trying to get some movies, so, I could keep, like Krampus for Christmas from the library. I think it's going to be due back this next week on the 22nd. So I'll probably take it back, and then I'll probably watch it again in the next couple days, and then take it back, and then get it again before Christmas. But I got to figure out, the the Christmassy horror movies. I want to say Gremlins was on Christmas, right? Or at least part of it. So gotta find that one, but I need to, look into it a little bit. I'm kind of honestly impressed with how much I love Krampus, actually. That's kind of a silly thing, but hey. It fits. So, anyway, I'm going to take these movies back and go tend to my other stuff. Anyway, as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time. See ya.